Hey guys, today I'm going to be replacing the caps on my mechanical keyboard. For those of you who've watched my previous video, and I know most of you haven't because it has so few hits, nobody seems interested in mechanical keyboards. That's a shame, but alas, this is a Cooler Master QuickFire Rapid, and today I received in the mail from Massdrop this box of PBT caps. Which I'm pretty excited about. Let me just get that going here. There's my PBT caps, and what I'm going to do is take these caps off, put those caps on. Okay, the first thing to do is to check out the two different types of keycap pullers that I've got. This one came with the Cooler Master QuickFire Rapid, and it's a really simple plastic one. All you need to do is slide it down around the sides of the keys and then gently pull up, and that should remove your keycap. The other way to do this is with one of these, which is a wire keycap puller. And you can see you just spread both sides around the key and then, same as before, gently pull it up. Now, I understand that these can hold up to 3 keys at a time, so that's how it would do it, although now that I've done it, I think 2 keys would probably be a stretch for it. Okay, let me show you something interesting about the different types of keycaps that I have. Okay, so here's something I wanted to point out. On the right is my old keycap. On the left is the new PBT keycap. You'll notice that these are front printed, which means that they're literally printed on the front of the key, as opposed to this one, which is printed on the top. The other thing to note is that the one on the right is called OEM profile, whereas the one on the left is called a cherry profile. And hopefully you can see there the difference in height between the two. On the right, you can see how much taller the OEM keycap is. Than the cherry profile keycap, which is much lower. Okay, at this point I just want you to know that there is a big difference between these PBT caps and the ABS caps. So, rightly so, some of you will point out that I could have got the QuickFire Stealth, which has side printed keycaps like this, but it doesn't have PBT keycaps, which is much higher quality. And I just want to show you on the back side here how you can see some of the difference between the two. So you'll notice the ABS is a much thinner plastic. Now, what I have here is a micrometer, and I barely know how to use it, but what I can tell you is that the PBT plastic has that as its measurement. What the heck does that mean? I have no idea. Do you know how to read a micrometer? If you do, read this and tell me what it means. Okay, let me show you the other one. Well, you can see that it's the ABS, which is the top printed stuff, is much thinner. I don't know how to read a micrometer, so I'm kind of at a loss as to what it means. There's the difference between the two caps. As you can see, this one's a much thicker, sturdier plastic. And if you do any research on PBT type plastics, you'll know that it's much harder wearing and much better. Now that we've looked at the difference between the OEM and the cherry profile, we can also talk about the different types of plastic. And actually, I think you can see pretty well on screen here the difference. This one's a much duller PBT plastic, whereas the ABS printed plastic, like this one, it's a lot shinier to the camera. Okay, well, I'm about to get started on putting some of these on the board, but one last thing I've got to do is add the dental bands. So these will be dampening the sound, and I've printed out on a 3D printer at work one of these little things. And this is supposed to help me put these little dental bands on. We'll see how that works. So I'm just going to take one of these Now I'm going to push my escape key down onto it. And I can say with absolute certainty that that dental band is kind of partway on, sorta. So let's push it the rest of the way around the back and push that key in. Okay, so just a quick sound test here. This is what an undampened ABS sounds like. And this is what dampened PBT sounds like. Next up, actually, what I'm going to do, I just put down the F2 key. But I'm going to put it down undampened. And I'm going to put down the F3 key, which will be ABS, but I'm going to dampen it first. So again, using my little switch mounter, pop that on there. All of this good for keyboard science. So dampened PBT, undampened PBT, undampened ABS, dampened ABS. Let's do it again. All right, let's take all these keycaps off. I'm going to go dampened everything. We'll see how we go. Okay, now we've come to the point where we're dealing with some of the more particular caps. Now these ones tend to be a bit more difficult because some of them may have bars in them. I'm not sure which ones do have bars and which ones don't, so I'm going to be quite gentle here as I go through. The control does not. And it goes Control, Win, Alt. The Shift key does have a bar. Do you see? I've pulled it up, but it's still trapped in there. Now, if I pulled that too hard, I could have done some damage to it. But what you need to do is you need to push the bar over as far as you can. This, of course, would be easier if I didn't have that Z key in there, so I'm going to have to take that out. Z key, Z key, if you live in America. I'm just going to push this over as far as I can and reach it out and back. Okay, so now I've got it to this point. You can see that there's two little plastic tabs on there. What I hear is you're not to grab under these tabs, you're to grab on the side of them here. So let me do my best. I just cut my nails yesterday, so that is pretty difficult to do. Ow! Super painful. Okay, now upside down on the, you see I've had help from my lovely wife assistant, and she's put dental bands on the two outside ones. Of course, you don't need dental bands there because those are not travel areas. Those are instead And just so you know, we ditched that 3D printed aid pretty early on. We're just putting these on by finger. So I'm just going to slide that in there and slide that in there. Now I noticed as I took it off that these were longer in this direction. So that is the downside of the key. The bottom faces the bottom. So I'm just going to pick this up. And as I do that, I'm just going to put this back on exactly as I took it off. Oh, I've knocked it over again. Oh, I've knocked it over again. Push it on one side. There, it's now riding that bar, and now I can carefully line it up. That's not right, is it? I must have put those things on backwards. That's how it's supposed to work. Correct. Okay, so I had that upside down. The long parts were meant to face up rather than down. You make mistakes, life goes on. Let's continue, shall we? Now I assume that shift key will also be railed, as the other shift key, which was smaller, was railed. So this backspace one, I have a feeling is railed. It is railed. So repeat the procedure. Pull this off. I'm going to need to get rid of that key there. So I've found one here that's particularly jammed. It's really difficult to get this one up of itself. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to try to get up in this top part. Instead, what I'm going to do is go under here. And by going under there, I can just try to wedge this up just a little bit. There we go. And now I should be able to grab hold of it. Oh, it's still a tight one, but I have managed to get it off. Okay, only one more to go, but it's the most difficult. It's especially the most difficult because I only have one keycap puller that's wire. What I really should do is have one for either end on the spacebar and pull up both at the same time. But as I don't have that, what I'm going to do is use one keycap puller on one side and the plastic keycap puller on the other. And hopefully between the two of them, I'll get to the desired result. That came up really easily, and I'm very fortunate that it did. It popped up quite easily, and now all I have to do is just remove one of these Alt keys so that I can slide it off the rail. Okay, so now all I need to do is just put this back on the rail, and I've got some practice doing that now with the other keys. So I'm just going to slide that. There you go on that end. There we go on that end. And there you have it, a completed keyboard, now with PBT caps. Sure, it looks like a Stealth, but it's so much better. Cool, well thanks again for watching. Don't forget you can subscribe to my channel, lots of cool stuff, lots of little projects I'm up to at the minute. If you have any questions about this or any of my other projects, don't forget you can ask them in the About section below, or in the comment section actually. In the About section, you'll find links to Massdrop, these types of keys if you're interested. And of course, if this video has helped you in any particular way, you can always buy me a coffee. I always appreciate it, and all the money always goes towards coffees. Well, I spend so much on coffee, or towards other projects. Recently, I bought a Raspberry Pi B Plus with some of my earnings. Thank you very much for those of you who've donated already. Hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks again.